Hi everybody! Today I'm excited to share with you what I think is maybe one of my top 5 favorite quilting magazines that I have in my collection. It is the 2018 September-October issue of McCall's Quilting. I love it so much because of this cover quilt, but there are lots of other fall projects in here too, so let's check it out. Here we go, September, October 2018, McCall's Quilting. I actually have a subscription to this magazine as a gift from my grandmother, so I get a copy of this every 2 months. It's really fun. We have a lot of magazines to go through. This first quilt is called Summers Inn, designed and sewn by Wendy Shepherd. They're rating this an intermediate. We already know that I love batiks. I love nature and quilts. I think this is a really interesting take on a traditional leaf block, which we're going to see a lot of those in this issue. I think the only change I would make if I was going to make this would be to maybe use this dark color as the background and then choose a lighter color for this. I love the different sizes. I love the prints. This is a win for me. Next up, we have this quilt called Autumn Twist by Karen Bialik. Okay, so this is that traditional maple leaf block, but set like this is the kind of block that I love to see in quilts and could not ever stay organized enough to make. Because look at these half square triangles in the background. It's not just like, oh, half of it's white, half of it's, this tan. They are really intentional in their design. It's radiating out. So I love, the leaf blocks radiating out, but then you also get those half square triangles radiating out. I think it looks really cool. You have to be pretty organized to sew a quilt like this. I think it looks really nice. The border situation she has going on, it takes a lot of work. Maybe it's striped. No, she made that border. That's all different fabric. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 borders times 4. That's 20 times you sew a border on. That's pretty amazing. Here's my favorite, Turning Leaves, quilted, designed and made by Susan Geddes. First of all, when I saw this, I thought it was bigger. I thought it was like a throw size quilt. So that, I don't know what that means. It's only 36 by 48. I think it means it's more difficult because it's smaller, so all of these things that you have to sew are smaller. I also think that I would love to have something with these colors and like a big throw size, but if it's throw size, then you have to fold it up, right? And if it's a wall hanging, then you get to see all of the colors all the time. So I really love the gradient in the background. I love the contrast of the veins on the leaves. There are a few, like maybe this one where she doesn't quite get that contrast, maybe this one, but the way that everything just kind of fades, the background and the leaf color, I really like. It's so rich, and there's no, like, I know I rag on white backgrounds a lot, but the easiest way to get high contrast is to put bright colors on a white background. But look, this is incredibly impactful from a contrast standpoint, and there's no white backgrounds. I think it's really cool. I was looking close because I was trying to figure out how she bound this, but actually this is not binding. It's a flip finish. So that would be another thing that if you made it bigger, if I made it bigger, you'd have to take into account, do you want to frame it with like a big border? Do you want to try to, piece a binding that runs all alongside of it? You can do a flip finish on a throw too. I'm not saying you can't, but it's just another consideration. I think this quilt is just stunning though. I really love it. Good job, Susan. Okay, the next one, Fall at the Cabin, designed and made by Melissa Corey. Okay, I'm trying to separate the colors from this because this is not my colors. I really am cringy about you can't see the leaf. You work really hard to piece that leaf and then you can't see it in some of these blocks. It's just so pale. I think for someone who's into this color scheme, this would be a nice way to have, some fall decor. It does look nice on the bed, and I love, a big log cabin block. I've made a lot of teeny tiny log cabin blocks. I appreciate that it takes forever. So it's nice that you only have to make 16 and they turn out huge. There's still a lot of patchwork. That's a lot of half square triangles in there. You could really change the colors and make this very heavily fall inspired, but I guess for someone who's not into that, this is a good compromise. Okay. Anniversary Sunset by Colleen Rial and Chloe Anderson. I don't know about this one. This is ombre fabric. So in these striped blocks, they have used ombre fabric, and I think it's actually, I think it's 3 different ombre fabrics. So they have this green one, they have this red one, and they have this brown one. Maybe it's 2, maybe this is 1 and this is 1. I'm not actually sure. So it's like this bed of leaves, this is a print, and then the ombre on top of it, and then the applique on top of that, and the applique definitely loses me. Like, I understand you need to put something on top of the ombre. Do you, though? I think these shapes are throwing me. I'm really sad about this one that gets lost into this. Ombre fabric is tough to work with because it can really make a quilt sparkle, and here it's giving me kind of, I don't know, like an 80s. It's not quite working for me. I appreciate there's a lot of work in, you know, kind of this blending, and they did cut strips to make it happen, but it's just not, it's not quite pressing the buttons for me. Fall Drive. Quilt designed and sewn by Terry Peterson, machine quilted by Christine Arnold. I saw this earlier. They have this as a skill level easy, and I'm pretty impressed. These blocks are big. It's not that many half square triangles, but these stars that they have in the middle are a little trickier. I do like this quilt. I like that it's gigantic. It's going to come together pretty fast. I actually made a quilt that looks outrageously similar to this for my dad, but I made it in small. It's like 6.5-inch blocks, and it's just one. He has it as a wall hanging. But I had the same problem, which was like, oh, the leaves are green, leaves are brown or red, like they change colors and then they fall off, and then what do you do for that other one? And I also put a blue leaf in my 4 patch of autumn leaves that I made, but I think this one, this is just a little too light blue for me. So when I'm looking at it from far away, I'm like, oh, we have 3 leaves, and then it's hard to see those little edges. So I think with a darker color, it would have been a little more impactful. But of course, I think if the whole thing had a black background instead of a light background, it would have been more impactful. I do like this quilt though. I like this little leaf suggestion in the border. I think it looks really nice. Good job, Terry. Okay, next up we have, I'm not gonna be able to see it all here. Peanut Butter Kisses. Oof, one of my favorite cookies. Quilt designed and sewn by Nancy Mahoney. They have this one as an easy too. I guess I'm not intermediate. I'm a little intimidated to make this quilt. It is a lot of half square triangles, but it's also kind of high stakes in the middle. This is also one that would be really challenging for me to keep track of my patchwork, because it would be really easy to, you know, flip just one of these units and then you don't quite get that spinning effect. I think this is the Lemoyne Star, I think. And they're saying that she did scraps. It looks very cohesive to me. I don't think this is authentic scraps, but I do like that there's a lot of different colors, you know, and the oranges in the background makes it have a lot of movement. Oh, and this is one that they did a Halloween version. I think I would not make this, but I really like this version with the Halloween colors. It's really cute. Next, we have this little tote bag for Halloween. That's fun. They also did this in a Christmas version, which is cute. Okay, the next quilt is called Syringa, and I'm trying hard to use my imagination on this one. I think that a lot of people like fabric like this color scheme must work for a lot of people, because I see fabrics like this in a lot of quilt magazines, but I got to do some work to see past what's going on here. First of all, we have fussy cut centers, which I like a fussy cut center, but then it's on point. These blocks are set on point, and that makes it trickier for the fussy cut, because then when you're cutting your fabric, I mean, it's rare that fabrics that have a linear design, that design is going diagonally. So if you're trying to fussy cut a square, you know, it's one thing to cut it if it's straight on the fabric, it's straight on your ruler. It's another thing if you have to cut it on the bias, you're gonna lose. It's just not very efficient with fabric. So you can either do what this person did, which is that she did not care that her fussy cuts were going all different directions. I think if I'm gonna go to the trouble of fussy cutting something now, I'm gonna want it to look straight, and it would only look straight. These blocks are also very, like, they don't have to be set on the bias. You could make this block and fussy cut the center straight and then just not do their layout. Like, you could just have the block, you know, look like this, like rows of that. And you could do like one of these and then an empty block and one of these and an empty block, and you would get a similar effect and not have to work so hard for the fussy cuts to be right side up. Now I'm trying to think what I would like to fussy cut. Oh, look what they did. Yeah, see, that's what they did. They just had the block straight, and their fussy cut was a straight motif, so they didn't worry about flipping it. And I think the block looks just as showy like that as it does on the diagonal. Not quite as much work. I'm interested in this because I recently got a wedge ruler. I know a lot of people love like modern, simplest. Oh, sorry, this is called Dresden. Oh boy, Dresden Quid. And they're calling this an intermediate. It's just a small, you could use that as a baby quilt or a wall hanging. I don't know why this gets an intermediate when something like this one, didn't they have this listed as easy? Now I gotta know. Yeah, easy. They're calling this easy and this intermediate. Something must happen while you're trying to piece these that makes it more challenging. I think it looks really clean and modern in the solids. It's not really my jam, but if that's what you go for, this is a good way to show off fabric. It's a good way to show off if you're good at playing with color. I do have that new wedge ruler, and I'm excited to see flat work with it, because when I got it, I thought, oh, this is perfect for circles. But I think it's interesting to see how people make it in flat patches too. So thanks, Diane. Maybe this is why it's intermediate, because you have to trim every one. All right, Misty Morning by Terry Peterson. This is nice. What are they calling this? See, I would call this intermediate. Now I'm like curious about the difficulty ratings. It is a table topper, 39 by 39. You could also get away with a baby quilt for that. I'm always curious when I see these little things. Like, I don't have a baby. I don't have a table that needs topping. So I'm trying to imagine like tiled out big. Would these? This is 4 blocks, and it's the same blocks just turned. So I'm interested to, you know, kind of imagine tiled out big. Do we still get this box in the middle? I think we must, because like this is the side. How it would look, you know, if this repeated 2 more times across and down. These batiks are really cool, but I worry that the design, like the intricacy of this design, gets a little lost on this blue and purple. So I would be interested to see, like, if you flip this like ivory color to make that the lattice, or if you had a different color entirely for the lattice, would that really, because it looks like it weaves, right? Or maybe it gets lost right here. No, I think it would look like it really wove through everything. Oh, I wonder if you did these in one color and these. Anyway, this is an interesting block. It's cool to try to picture how you could play with it. Here's another table topper. I like the look of this. Of course, I'd like it more if it wasn't on a white, but I do think that it's pretty interesting. This, okay, we're calling this easy. Okay. I know I ragged on that table topper last time that had the you know, it was kind of a different shape. This binding I'm not so worried about. When it's an outside corner like this, I think I'm fine to bind those. It's inside corners that I personally find really challenging. So, Jaded Facets by Patty Carey. I think this could look cool in a lot of different colorways. Okay, and that is all of the fall quilts. Ooh, what's that pillow? Looks like an applique pillow. In this issue of McCall's Quilting. So there you have all of the quilts from the 2018 September-October issue of McCall's Quilting. You can find the patterns that were in this issue on McCall's Quilting website. So if you saw one that you want to make, you can get the pattern from them. My favorite is still the cover quilt. I do love foundation piecing. I don't know if I'll ever make one, but leave your favorite quilt from this issue in the comments, and I'll see you next time.